everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Donkey Projections. I'm Eric, and we have Lucas as always.
Hey everyone.
Today is June 11th, 2021, and today we're going to be making a governor prediction. Some of these states have their races in 2021, others have their races in 2022. We'll be going over the safe, likely, lean, and tilt states and giving our preliminary predictions.
And with that being said, let's get right into it. So this is again a very, very early prediction. We still have more than a year until these governor elections. We're gonna make some assumptions, however. President Biden is fairly popular, not super popular, but he's doing an okay job. But we might end up assuming that since it's an opposition wave year, supposedly, that Republicans might have a greater edge in some of these races. So we're probably going to assume that for this video, just for the sake of predictions. So Oregon, California, let's go through the safes, the usual suspects. The Northeast actually is a little different this time. With New Jersey, this is actually safe blue. We made a video about this one. Jack Ciattarelli has basically no chance of winning here. Maryland, Larry Hogan cannot run for re-election. Democrat will definitely replace him. Rhode Island, safe blue. Massachusetts actually has a Republican governor, one of the most liberal states, but Charlie Baker is their governor. He is actually quite popular there right now. He's expected to win pretty easily. Phil Scott, Vermont, also very, very popular, despite being a very blue state. So with New Hampshire, since Kristen hasn't yet announced that he would run for Senate, he said he would announce at the end of July, at the end of June, I believe, at the end of the executive session for the state legislature. We're gonna put this one as safe R, assuming he runs for re-election. He's also incredibly popular. Won in 2020 by like 20, 30 points, despite Biden winning the state by like 8. It was very shocking, but we'll be going with that. With the state of Connecticut, you're probably wondering why we put this as blank. Ned Lamont isn't the most popular governor. He barely won in 2018. He won by like 3 points. Connecticut has some wacky governor elections sometimes. We're going to go with Celine for this one, probably around 5 points, or actually 4.9 points of a victory there. We're not too ready yet to put it as safe. New York, Andrew Cuomo has some issues. Lee Zeldin has no chance, though. That would be it for the safety.
I think
Safe R.
Hawaii as well.
Oh, Hawaii, thank you. Safe R, usual suspects for safe R states, except for Kansas. We'll be discussing that.
Right. And the thing is about governor elections is that every state has one vote for the whole race. So when there are states such as Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, and Nebraska up for re-election, and there's objectively more physical Republican states running than Democratic states, and population is not accounted for, usually in these races, the Republicans have more of an edge because they just have more states, and if each state is counted the same, they may have the edge. That doesn't mean that they will necessarily win the governorship. It just may be a potential indicator.
Right, and now let's take a look at Iowa and Ohio. These are tough calls. Iowa, I'm gonna go with likely. I know it's might be end up being safe. I don't think so. The rural areas have swung so much to the right now that I think it likely is a good call. Ohio, interesting case here. Jim Renacci who was a former congressman. He ran against Sherrod Brown in 2018 for Senate. He is announcing he's primarying Mike DeWine, calling him a rhino. I think it's still likely. The rural areas are too red. Terry McAuliffe in Virginia. We actually recently talked about this one. He's quite well known, and Youngkin isn't that great of a candidate. And the GOP internal poll only having McAuliffe up by 2 points is really not good for Youngkin. Ooh, South Carolina. Eric, why don't you talk about South Carolina briefly?
Right. So I think South Carolina is going to go in a likely state. So there's no Democrat that can really win in South Carolina. And we kind of saw that in the Senate race with Jamie Harrison. He campaigned pretty hard, and polls were kind of showing concerning results for Lindsey Graham. And the same thing applies to the governorship. There's no Democrat that can really win in this state. And just like the presidential race and the Senate race, it's probably going to go in a likely. I think the incumbent is running as well. And any contender doesn't really have it, that much of a chance.
Yeah, Joe Cunningham is running here. He's a former Democratic congressman from the first district, very moderate Democrat. He said he was going to announce he's going to visit every state. Honestly, of every county, it does give some Beto O'Rourke vibes, but still, this is South Carolina. Henry McMaster should have no trouble keeping this seat. Um, that might be it for this. Oh yeah, one more is Maine. Oops, that meant to be blue. Maine, they have Jeanette Mills here. Again, no, shouldn't be any problem. The rural areas are very conservative, however. And that is it for the likelies. And one more, Tim Waltz in Minnesota. Again, Minnesota has swung to the left decently, I want to say. So that's likely. Colorado, Jared Polis should be no problem either. Has swung very much to the left. Michelle Lujan Grisham, I believe, will also be carrying this one in a likely. Honestly, Colorado's borderline safe considering it went to Biden by 13.5. We'll stick with likely for now. So these are the battleground states. I guess I can start off here with Texas. We are hearing rumors of Beto O'Rourke running or Matthew McConaughey running, and there was one poll with Matthew McConaughey up 23 points. I think it's an outlier. We're going with likely. Greg Abbott should have not too much of a problem winning here. So I'll give it to Eric now for Nevada.
Right. So I think in Nevada, it's probably going to go somewhere in a lean, I believe. Yeah, it's going to go somewhere in between 1 to 5 points. The metropolitan areas of Nevada, such as Reno and Las Vegas, will probably vote for this governor. And I'm actually not really sure who the governor is, but I think it's the incumbent.
Oh, it's Sisolak, yes.
Right, it's Steve Sisolak, and I think he will have no problem winning this state again.
I think, Adam Laxalt, who I believe is the current attorney general, he might run for governor, although he might run for Senate. If I recall correctly, Sandoval used to be the governor here in 2018. However, he couldn't run for re-election, and Sisolak defeated his Republican opponent there. So that was a flip. But we're keeping it as lean because we kind of underestimated in 2020 how conservative some of the more rural areas would be and how much Trump would overperform with Hispanic voters. So we're going to stick with a lean prediction. I'll head now to Kansas. So the governor here is Laura Kelly. She got very lucky in 2018, and I want to recall quickly. So I think there was two main things. First of all, the incumbent governor at the time, I believe, is Jeff Collier. It might not be Jeff, but I think his last name was Collier. He lost his primary to Chris Kobach, who was the very much Trump endorsed candidate. And Chris Kobach is a very controversial figure in Kansas and across the country. And he faced against Laura Kelly. And obviously, Chris Kobach didn't do that well. But the other thing that was working with Laura Kelly was the fact that Greg Orman was running. Greg Orman is an interesting candidate. He ran for Senate in 2014, almost defeated. I don't remember his name. It's whoever Roger Marshall replaced. I don't remember that guy's name, but he is, very conservative on some issues. But I believe he is more socially liberal. But he was definitely taking away votes from Chris Kobach. And that ended up resulting in Laura Kelly winning in a very narrow margin. Greg Orman took away about 6%, I would say, from Chris Kobach. If you added those to Chris Kobach would have won the election. So I think a lot of things went right for Laura Kelly in 2018. That unfortunately for her doesn't look like it will be going right again. Former Governor Collier is running for the seat again. So Republicans already have a pretty decent candidate. So I think we're going to go with lean. And again, considering how ruby red the state is, we're leaning towards a Republican prediction, especially if it is an opposition wave here for the Republicans. Let's head over to Florida now. Eric, I'll toss it over to you.
So in Florida, we have the very popular in the GOP party, Ron DeSantis. And he is seeking another term. In Florida, he is allowed to run again. And the most notable Democratic contender is Charlie Christ. He's kind of arose and been making kind of somewhat of a presence in Florida. He's been advertising. He's a pretty moderate Democrat, and you can only put up a moderate Democrat in Florida because it's becoming more and more Republican in recent years. But although he's making such a presence, I think Ron DeSantis is just too popular in Florida for Charlie Christ to overcome Ron DeSantis. So I think it's probably going to go in around a likely lean area. I would say around 6 points or so, unless something really controversial happens to Ron DeSantis or he gets involved in some sort of scandal. I think he's going to be able to take the state in a pretty sound margin.
Interesting. I'm actually leaning towards more of a 3 to 4 margin. I think Ron DeSantis, although he is very popular within the Republican base, I think Democrats still really don't like him that much. And Charlie Crist is a pretty good candidate to run. He can get a lot of the voters out. And if Val Demings is the Senate nominee, she'll be able to perhaps tag team with Charlie Crist and excite the progressive base to vote for him for governor. So I'm leaning more towards a lean for Florida. I think even though Ron DeSantis could do uh, well for a Republican in Florida, it's going to honestly come down to Miami-Dade. Have the Florida Democrats figured out how to win back Miami-Dade? I saw this. This funny tweet this morning. I don't remember who tweeted it out, but someone asked why did the Florida Dems lose the state legislature by so much or whatever, and the comments were all like, "Oh, Florida Dems. That's why. It's because the Florida Dems are very much not a very good at winning elections right now. So we'll see how well they can do in Miami-Dade, and from there we can kind of figure out how well Ron DeSantis would do. So I'm gonna head over now to the state of Arizona. So this is where we have Katie Hobbs, who is probably going to be the Democratic nominee, and you also have Kimberly Yee, who is also probably going to be the Democratic nominee. Now, Kimberly Yee is a very good candidate for the Republicans to run. She does very well on statewide elections. She is the current state treasurer. And I'd like to thank ACO for providing these maps. Actually, he tweeted this out actually 1 month ago, comparing uh, Kimberly Yee in 2018 versus Martha McSally in 2018. As you can see, in 2018, Kimberly Yee did very well, 8.5% in a blue wave year, up 196 per thousand votes. And, look at this area here. She actually did pretty well, kind of throughout the state. Now, compare this to Martha McSally, where she lost the election. Martha McSally lost the election for Senate against Kirsten Sinema, who was also a pretty good candidate since, she was able to get a lot of those suburbs. Therefore, if I can do my math correctly, Kimberly Yee ran ahead of Martha McSally by around 10 points. I understand that. However, and this is what I think I kind of disagree with election Twitter and all their election predictors. I think she's running on a Trump platform that's way too pro-Trump. The way for a Republican to win in Arizona is not to run such a pro-Trump platform now in Arizona, because Arizona has a lot of those traditional Republican McCain-like Republicans, not Trump-like Republicans. That's kind of why the suburbs swung towards Biden in the 2020 election. That's why Kirsten Sinema was able to win Maricopa County and win the state of Arizona. In 2018, I'm not too sure how Kimberly ran her campaign, because quite frankly, no one really saw it too much. But in 2022, looking at her ad, looking at the way she announced her campaign, she ties herself, I think, way too closely to President Trump or former President Trump in a state such as Arizona. And as a result, I think she will win, because it is, if we're assuming it's a GOP favored year, and Arizona does have a lot of Republican DNA still, but it's going to be a tilt, in my opinion. I know most people are going to be putting lean for this, but I'm going to go with tilt. Eric, do you have anything to add to this one?
Nope, you kind of hit the nail on the head with everything. Yeah, this is the one candidate the GOP should run. But Lucas made a very fair point about the Arizona suburbs shifting away from this pro-Trump rhetoric. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But yeah, I don't. It's going to be a lot closer than one speculates. So I think that's actually the right place to put it.
All right, let's head over now to. Oh, I just realized Gretchen Whitmer in in Michigan. She has a very good shot at winning. We're going to be putting likely for this one. I didn't realize I missed that one. All right. Eric, why don't you now take Georgia?
Yeah, so Georgia's kind of an interesting state. So, incumbent Brian Kemp is able to seek another term here, but he's being primaried, and the most likely candidate that might primary him is Vernon Jones. He's actually declared to primary against Brian Kemp. He was actually a former Democratic state representative, and he is switched over to primary Brian Kemp. Another possible one is Herschel Walker, who's backed by Donald Trump, but he's likely going to run for the Senate. We're not really sure where to put this one because we're not really sure how Vernon Jones, who's the more likely primary nominee, we're not really sure how he's going to do. And based on that, we're not really sure where to put it. And also, we're not sure if Stacey Abrams is going to run. She's publicly expressed interest, and she's played a quite influential role in expressing interest in the runoffs a few months earlier. So it's going to be interesting to see if she can mobilize her campaign enough because she did try to run in 2018 but did not win. So we're going to have to see where it ends up this year. But I do have a feeling that it's going to go to the Republican, but we're not really sure by what margin. Probably in around a lean or so.
Right. I think Stacey Abrams is going to be running again. Taking a look at it now, I feel like she's been kind of prepping for this. She ran in 2018, came super close to winning in a state like Georgia. However, I think I'm going to go with the swing on this one. It's simply, wow, it's not working with me today. It's just way too close to figure out, which side it's going to go to. I think that should the Republicans end up choosing Vernon Jones, they're going to be having a much harder time against Stacey Abrams because that's kind of like running Kelly Loeffler, a super pro-Trump candidate, which actually turned off a lot of voters in Georgia. So this will be swing for now while we wait for the primary results. Let's head now to, I just realized also Pennsylvania. I'll briefly go over this one. This is currently held by Tom Wolf. He cannot run for re-election. However, Josh Shapiro, who is the current Attorney General, looks like he is going to be running for governor. And Pennsylvania, I believe, has swung decently to the left, in the past election. I don't believe it's trending to the right. I think that the Philly suburbs are going to be swinging back to Josh Shapiro this time. Plus, John Fetterman's very strong populist workers message should allow them to also do pretty well in Western Pennsylvania. So we're going to be putting this one as lean. And finally, the state of Wisconsin. We also go back and forth in this one a lot. We're going to be going also with toss-up. And the reason why is because Tony Evers is a little bit unpopular compared to some of the other governors I think it was also part of his COVID-19 handling. I'm not too sure who Republicans will be running here. But Tony Evers, he does well in the driftless area in Wisconsin, which I made a video on this, but it's this area here. And the question is, will white working class voters, part of this driftless area, end up swinging to the Republican candidate away from Tony Evers? And, in 2020, when Biden won the state, he actually didn't win through the driftless area. He actually won through, I believe the WOW counties actually helped him a lot, even though he didn't win them. But he won through the more northern areas, which was kind of surprising. But given this information now, it does seem very preliminary to decide on this race, at least for now. So we're going to be leaving this one as a toss-up. And with that being said, that is the end of the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please like when you like our content. Please subscribe. And we'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.